All right, we're here in Buena Park. Dana and I drove up. We want to show you inside one of our favorite opt-out life stories. We're going to hang out with George Esquivel, who is one of Dana's earliest business partners. These guys have known each other for 20 years. They've been through a lot of ups and downs. It's a great opt-out life story. Let's head inside. All right, guys, excited to be here. You guys have known each other for 20 years.
Close to 20.
Close to 20 years, okay. I know we're gonna get into it, but before we do, I hear there's something to celebrate.
So, George, I can remember there was a time early in the business when I was still working in Las Vegas. Yeah. And you came out and we were doing some business, and I was working for a law firm, and working with you was like my side gig. And you walked over to my office and the supply room was open right next to my office.
Yep.
And you stopped in your tracks, opened the door a little more and said, "You have all this stuff?"
Yeah.
Because it was a time in the business where you're running out of your garage.
Yep.
And I don't think you could afford a stapler.
No, couldn't afford. I mean, it was my wife and 3 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Back then.
I took the liberty when I got in today of actually checking your supply room, and I think you officially have more supplies than the law firm had when you came out there 18 years ago.
It's pretty well stocked.
And I promised that we would have a little champagne to celebrate because for the first time in the life of the company, really, we've got an investor. So we've got some new plans ahead that are going to be really exciting. So I brought some.
Oh, amazing.
Brought some champagne.
Let's do it. Perfect.
To your success, George.
Oh, thank you. To you guys. Cheers, guys. Thanks for coming out.
Well, George, I love coming in here and looking at all the shoes and like looking to see if there's a celebrity's name on one of them and looking at all the new styles that are going to be coming out. Kind of this whole persona that you have achieved today of being like the cool shoe designer guy. But where did this all come from?
I mean, I think the core of me wanting to design beautiful things, it's because we didn't have beautiful things. Growing up homeless and my dad being in prison for murder and drugs and all, just this crazy upbringing. But I think in the end, the goal isn't to buy a Ferrari and have mansions, it's to do what you love. The opt-out life, right? To do what you love.
That's right. When you said beauty, I'm curious why you gravitated towards shoes.
The first pair I had made was in Baja. I saw a sign that said Shoemaker, so I walked in and I did a sketch of something and they made it for me and I was hooked. Now I have a pair of custom-made shoes, which is just like crazy, right? I'm wearing them and everybody's like, what the heck are those things? They're amazing. This was something of my own doing, of my own design, and I was getting the credit for it. So it felt pretty good. After I picked up that first pair, I'd stop at every shoe repair and asked if they knew anybody who could make me more shoes. And it wasn't because I wanted to do a business, it was just because I wanted shoes. So found a guy, he makes me a pair of shoes and instantly I start selling them. I mean, it just took off. In 2.5 years, I think we made 2,500 pairs of shoes out of a garage.
This is where celebrities came in, actually.
This is where the celebrities
came in. Your first, talk about ego boost.
The 90s was the Lit, the No Doubts, the Offspring, all of these bands that were starting to be cool. I was already going to watch them play. I mean, we literally made shoes for 9 Inch Nails in the 90s, AFI, the New Guns N' Roses. I mean, it was everybody in the 90s lit. Like they made a video, Pamela Anderson eats the band and spits out my shoe. So things like that, it just kept happening and it was being at the right time at the right place. And I also think that I just fell in love with the process.
What happened after that was we thought we'd play on this sort of like momentum that seemed to be there. So we split the company into 2 brands.
The lower price point and then the higher price point being Esquivel.
What was the thinking behind doing that?
Well, we had access to China. We really didn't understand the luxury market. And it was just an opportunity that presented itself. I think us being young and kind of ignorant, we just like, let's try it, let's see what happens.
And while we're doing that, we had Joe's Garb importing shoes from China, distributing those we thought was going to be a big hit.
Yeah.
And we didn't sell half of them, right?
That's the lesson that I've learned when you see people trying to do too many things. Everybody says, hey, I want to do this, this, and this. And the first thing I tell them is, unless you have a lot of money and you're gonna pay someone to do it, or you're gonna stop doing this and you do that, then don't do it. It just doesn't work.
Did it ever make you want to give up?
Yeah, I mean, you think it's a failure, but now looking back, it's like I learned a lot. I'm glad I made those mistakes with Joe's Garb versus Esquivel. From the learning and the falling down and the mistakes that we made in Joe's Garb, we were able to apply that to Esquivel. And that's what I'm grateful for. So, if I'd take that kick in the gut again, if I knew it was gonna be just like this.
Yeah, I think Nate and I have talked a lot about the fact that in the opt-out life, we're talking to entrepreneurs that are getting the life they want and making some good money.
Yeah.
But they still have permission to dream big.
Yeah.
You'd be fine if it just grows at the pace it's going.
Yeah.
The legacy is there. But it would be fun if it's a $100 million company.
I mean, that would be amazing.
Right.
I think for me, one of my issues that I've seen is I'm friends with a lot of CEOs who run billion-dollar companies, $500 million, and I see the issues they have to deal with. They don't have the opt-out life. And I think that's a big difference. They don't have the freedom to go to the movies with their wife in the middle of the day. There's a lot of, even when I was working at Toomey, it was stressful for me, and I wasn't the boss. I was only a creative director. The stress at that level to make that money and to anniversary the same amount of money plus another 20% the following year, you're like, that's crazy. Like, that's a lot of stress. You don't enjoy life anymore. I mean, I gained weight, I wasn't healthy. I had the flu for 7 months. 7 months I had the flu from the stress of traveling, and for a year and a half, I wasn't home for more than 12 days at a time. So that means I didn't teach my son how to drive. I wasn't there for his game, so there's a give and take. Now, that was an amazing experience, and I think I learned a lot, but it's not the opt-out life when you take that road.
You just took a big vacation to Lake Como.
I did.
You're telling us about it. Tell us a little more.
I mean, it's just pretty amazing. One of our other business partners invited us to go to a villa and just hang out for a week. It was pretty nice.
I saw Instagram pictures of this villa. Didn't Napoleon stay there?
Yeah, Napoleon stayed there. He lived there for, I think, 3 days, and his wife lived there for a year.
How many hats did he bring along for those 3 days?
Just like part of the house was a museum you couldn't go into. I mean, it was just amazing.
All right, George, so I think for anyone listening, it's hard for them to imagine where you're at and what it took to get there. And I know, because I was there with you, you worked really hard for the business, and I remember years where you didn't draw any salary. So, I mean, if anyone's thinking like, hey, I want to get into design, I want to own my own business, I want to build a brand, how did you survive?
For me, because I loved shoes and I started understanding the anatomy of the foot and how shoes are made, then my name starts getting passed around, and I'm consulting for a sneaker brand and then a sandal brand. All along, that money just gets funneled back into the love, which is Esquivel.
So you're consulting. I mean, this is what we call side gigs. Dana's, the things you mentioned were side gigs.
Yeah.
You're taking side gigs
To
year
fund-
after year
yeah.
to fund the business.
To fund the business.
Working around your main schedule, around your baby, nights, weekends, whatever.
7 days a week.
All right, so George, I've told people that, in 20 years of the business, I haven't had a cash dividend yet, but I've had some amazing shoes, amazing experiences, and something, I'm not really starstruck, but, 2 experiences that dazzled me a little bit was bowling with Emma Stone and dinner with Tommy Hilfiger.
Oh, that was pretty cool. Those are cool experiences.
Both with you, both really amazing experience, really cool people. I get the sense you're not all that starstruck either, but the list of celebrities that you've made shoes for, that you've had relationships with is massive. It's hundreds. Have you got a celebrity story or two that you can share with us?
I think, and then not everybody knows who Anna Wintour is. If you've seen the movie The Devil Wears Prada, it's based on her. I mean, she's nothing like the movie, but having someone like that support you and say, we believe in you, is kind of awe-inspiring. But they're all amazing. I mean, meeting some of the basketball players from LeBron James to Tyson Chandler, it's all been a really, really cool experience. It's like a dream come true, to be honest with you. I have an amazing job that takes me to amazing places. And that's kind of been the payoff. And I meet great people. I've had nothing but positive experiences. I mean, from the founders of Google to, like, we made shoes for Elon Musk. I mean, it's been crazy. Like, if I actually sit back, like when we start talking about it, like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool. Like, if it all ended today, it's like, all right, that was a good ride.
Right. I mean, we've talked about this. The business is really a function of building the life you want.
Exactly. We both have friends that have so much money and they're miserable. Like, we all know that. But it's not about that. It's about the experience. Like, oh my gosh, tell me about that. Like, how did you go to Bali for a year? Like, that's just like the craziest thing. And I think when you have those experiences, people think they're not tangible and they're not attainable, but they are. And I think it's really cool what you guys are doing and showing people that it is attainable and it's very real.
I think people with money want something special. And the passion that you bring to the shoe, I think, makes them passionate about it. I mean, if you watch people, when you're talking to them about the shoes, they get excited. And so if you're a celebrity or someone who's very wealthy and you can have whatever you want, you could buy a more expensive shoe that is from a 200-year-old heritage shoe company, but you don't get the passion, right? The celebrities, if you want to call them all that, I think they love your passion and they want to wear a piece of your passion.
I hope so. It feels good that they invest in our brand.